Mike Johnson introducing a bill, a standalone support Israel bill, as opposed to one support Ukraine. And Biden had, or Taiwan. And then there were some domestic things in the bill that were pretty small that I guess were there as some type of sweeteners for people under the idea put out by the White House. Johnson released a standalone Israel aid bill for $14 billion with a pay for that comes from the IRS, I should say. That was that $80 billion that came in on the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. That money to the IRS has already paid huge dividends, both in terms of expanded auditing of millionaires and in speeding up your returns by the IRS for just average people. Every dollar you spend on the IRS gets you between $5 and $7 return. Mm-hmm. So even if they're doing this to justify from a deficit reduction perspective, which is absurd, but just even using their own logic, it actually increases the deficit, the way that they want to go about paying for it.
And they're fine with that with a Democratic president in office regardless. Anyway. Oh,
yeah, they don't care. I mean, they just, the bottom line is Republicans want to cut the IRS.
Yeah.
You can look at a graph of IRS audits over the past 15 years, and there is almost a one-to-one relationship. Every dollar they cut away from the IRS, the ability of the IRS to audit people with money who come with an army of lawyers and accountants goes down. And so the ratio of audits of low income people and wealthy people changes and favors, it's not totally, I mean, they still audit, even at when the biggest cuts, they still are auditing rich people more than people living, low income people. But that dynamic is a function of how much you fund the IRS. Yeah. And when the IRA was passed, there were people who ostensibly were on the left were talking about the IRS in the exact same way that Republicans do, mm-hmm. claiming that the IRS was going to go after more people. There was and I understand skepticism when people say anything, but it was also illogical for the IRS to do this. To do anything but. You had Janet Yellen vow that nobody under $400,000 income was going to see more audits on an annual basis. They were going to audit people getting earned income tax credits less. Those are low-income people basically getting a subsidy from the government. And they were going to pick up auditing wealthy people. And it just simply makes sense. You can't afford the risks associated with going after people who have an army of lawyers and accountants if you're understaffed, and the IRS has been.
Yeah, I would say I'm to the left of Thomas Piketty, but if you read his books, Capital in the 21st Century and Capital and Ideology, it's very clear that just a dispassionate look at the world economy shows that we need not even just domestic tax enforcement, but global tax enforcement to be something that we'd figure out this century. And
to be clear, I mean, without even having to, I don't even have to engage in the arguments as to whether a deficit is a good thing or a bad thing. The purpose of this taxation should be to minimize wealth disparities, which have gone out of control as in part a function of the IRS leaving, billions upon billions of dollars out there that are owed by wealthy people. Also in part of just the way in which we tax. Work is taxed at a higher rate than money is taxed. The money that you make off of your money is taxed less.
We've cut taxes precipitously since for decades at this point. Obama was instrumental in making many of those Bush tax cuts permanent, and then Trump also came in and cut taxes more. And there's no real political will from the Democratic side to increase them in any meaningful way. So that's part of the problem. The bare minimum is the IRS enforcement.
So it is. The long and short of it is this Mike Johnson legislation, it would appear, is going to be dead on arrival in the Senate. For someone like Mitch McConnell, because it doesn't have a Ukraine funding and Taiwan funding. For someone like Schumer, it's because it purports to cut from the IRS to pay for it. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I have no idea how this goes forward. I am not terribly worried about this money not being pushed through, to be totally honest, in the short term.
If Mike Johnson wants to be to bog this down, to bog more money down from going to Israel, I could not be more on board with that project.
And again, reminder, we are now, I think it's 17 days out from the government shutdown. Johnson has supposedly floated a brief continuing resolution just to get out of this neighborhood, I guess. But I'm unclear when it would go, maybe to Christmas. Unsure. We'll have more on that in the coming days. We're going to take a break, head into the fun half. Just a reminder, it's your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajority.com. When you do, you not only support the free show, but you also get the fun half of the program. And you get the free show free of commercials. Help this show survive and thrive. It is really your support that makes this possible. We're coming up on the 10-year anniversary, I guess it's next year, in Brooklyn. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, you guys moving from Manhattan?
I was thinking about that today. But this show, we're in year 13, I guess, of this show. Right around now. Right around now. Launched this, I should know that. When we hit 10 years, I was like, yeah, we should have, so it didn't even occur to me.
13? Isn't it older?
The podcast was launched in 2010.
Okay.
The actual show was, the first Majority Report was on was a one-off on Tom Sharpling's program in February of 2003.
There we go.
And then this
That's
show,
like the 20-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
that would have been the 20th anniversary. Really, April 1st, 2004 will be the 20th anniversary of this as an
That's what I was
ongoing
thinking.
enterprise.
Yeah.
So maybe we should plan something for that. In the meantime, become a member. Maybe we'll
Get
do
Sharpling back on.
Sharpling would have been on March, but yes, we should do
I
that.
don't think he's been on since I've been here.
Has he not?
I don't think, maybe
He was
once.
supposed to come on for his book, and then I just got the runaround from him.
Oh, I
I'm
remember
so
that, yeah.
busy now. Whatever.